Hi everyone, welcome to Frank and Frank Auto Repair. Today I'm going to go over which E90 model you should buy in 2023. I'm going to be going over 5 models: the 323i, the 325i, 328i, the 330i, and the 335i. I've personally owned a 2008 335xi, a 2008 328xi, and a 2006 325xi. I've also owned various other vehicles from different brands, and I've been fortunate enough to drive a few dozen BMW models in my lifetime. All this to say, I can give you a real opinion, and it's not just going to be based on numbers or hearsay. A couple of things that are going to matter to you that aren't relevant to the model are the transmission type and the body style. As far as the transmission, you got to consider whether you like manual or you like automatic. I've had both. The 6-speed manual was very fun. It's a very smooth manual. I think power delivery is great. I really enjoyed it. That said, the automatic was super reliable, and I actually didn't find it to be a significant difference in performance. And as someone who enjoys being able to just relax once in a while, the automatic definitely was a great choice. The other thing to consider, as I said, is the body style. There's the sedan, the coupe, the convertible, and the station wagon. They're the E90, 91, 92, 93. That's going to matter to you. I don't really go over that. That's all just personal preference. So, when it comes down to which E90 model is best for you, I think that there are 4 main things to consider. Firstly, what are the maintenance costs and reliability of the model? What are the fuel costs of the model? What's your budget? And most importantly, how fun is the car to drive? So, let's rank the cars in terms of maintenance and reliability. The 323 down to the 330, to me, all rank very similarly in terms of reliability. The water pump, the oil filter housing gasket, those are 2 things that will likely fail at some point. You may experience a ticking from a failing lifter. You can run thicker oil, that usually will help, but replacing the lifter obviously is best. For all of these vehicles, oil changes run a similar cost. I would rank them all very similar. They all have the N52 engine, which generally is regarded as one of the more reliable engines. It's not the best, but it does well. The 335 in comparison has an N54 engine, and it ranks very clearly in last in terms of reliability. And to me, that's mostly because of the turbos. They will fail around 150,000 kilometers. Usually, you might get them up to 200,000 kilometers. It's quite a costly repair. I say budget $3,000 for it. Probably won't cost that much, but you never know. It could. As well, the injectors will fail at a higher kilometers, and they're crazy expensive for injectors. So you're going to have to budget for that as well. Next up are the fuel costs. This will depend on the year of the car, but on average, I've found that I was using a similar amount of gas for all of the vehicles. They all do really well on the highway. The all-wheel drive models use more fuel, but the differences are quite small. The 335i is rated usually around 20 miles per gallon. All the others get between 21 and 22. Considering how little of a difference that is, I would rate them all exactly the same for monthly fuel costs. It's also important to remember that if you've never had a BMW or a nicer vehicle, all of them will require premium gas. The next important thing on the list is, what is your budget? If you are a high schooler or someone with a limited income, but you're committed to an E90, I'd recommend you stay between the 325 to the 328i. Here in Canada, they're all around a similar use price, 5 to 8,000, depending on how well kept the model is, how many kilometers. And as I discussed before, these are all on the more reliable end, so maintenance costs are reduced. The 330i is usually more expensive around where I live. I see them around $9,000. The 335i also runs around 9,000, maybe up to 10, 11. It all depends on the state of the car, and sometimes there's a good deal out there. However, because of the maintenance costs, the turbos, all the things you're gonna have to plan for, unless you have a little bit of emergency cash ready or you don't have a budget, I don't necessarily recommend the 335i. If you could do the work yourself, that's a huge piece. I think a misconception, a bit of an aside, but a misconception about BMW costs is that for every model the parts cost a lot, and I think that the E90 parts are actually pretty reasonable, especially compared to my F22 that I have. The parts are not gonna break your bank outside of the turbos and the injectors, and if you can do the work yourself, you can definitely save a lot of money. But most people aren't able to do the work, and so I would say most people who are on a budget should stay away from the 335. Finally, which is the most fun to drive? By miles and miles, pun intended, I found the 335i was the most fun to drive. I would not put the others in the same bracket at all. The low-end power delivery is extremely noticeable. The others all kind of feel similar on the highway, but there are some slight differences. I felt that my 328 had just a little more pep in its step, so to say, than the 325, and it made me enjoy it that much more. I think that ranking these just by horsepower is probably accurate to how fun they are to drive. They all feel very similar as far as road feel and the weight of the steering, which is fun in all of the cars. But in conclusion, the 335 is just so much better, so much more fun, that I just couldn't rank it anywhere close to the others. And just a couple other things for you guys who are still watching the video. What options I like best? As someone living in Canada, experiencing snow and ice for like a third of the year is pretty normal. And the all-wheel drive has been fantastic for me. I've driven the rear-wheel drive models, but the X-Drive is so much better in the winter. It's ridiculous. You will love the car in the winter, in the snow and the ice. It doesn't matter. It handles it all super well. A little bit of something to keep in mind, though, is because of the all-wheel drive system, repairs usually take more hours, especially the turbos, and the suspension components do wear more quickly. So you do have some increased cost. That is something to keep in mind. A second option I don't go without in the winter is heated seats. Man, do they make a difference in the winter. In these cars, it's a good heated seat. Works quickly. However, they do fail over time, so do test them before you buy your car. And the last option that I love is the iDrive, the navigation system, and just having a screen. The bass stereo I actually think is quite a lot worse. It's really simple, yet it's not that intuitive. And the little screen in all of the models I've driven is failing or has failed. And so then you can't even see what you're doing. The iDrive is very clear. It gives you some more information as far as, required maintenance on your vehicle. Just a few little things on the screen that make a huge difference. And as far as actually having a navigation and a screen in a vehicle, it's integrated really well. It looks good. I think that it's worth it if you're comparing between a few and one of the vehicles has the iDrive but it's the same price or only a little more. To me, it's worth it. The sport seats and the power seats are actually options that I was okay without. In my 328i, I didn't have either, and I didn't really notice much of a difference. I'm not somebody who adjusts my seat a ton, and the sport seats with the little extendable piece for underneath your hamstrings, it's not super special. The seats are just fine without it. So all things considered, which is the winner? To me, if you have no budget, the 335 is the clear winner. It's the most fun. It has aftermarket support, and it isn't that much more expensive than the other models. Just have to save money for the repairs. In second place, I put the 328i. It's cheaper than the 330, but delivers similar power and the same reliability. So I think it's a good budget winning option.